Okay, folks, back at it here. Now, some of you guys have mentioned, why do you bounce around so much? Well, there's many reasons why. First thing is because I have several of these to work on. The second part is it's kind of nice that I don't have to just be on the game and order my parts and expect them to be here on Tuesday and I can work on it Wednesday. That turns this more into a job than fun, and I still have fun doing it. That's the main reason I do it's for fun. I just bring you guys along because I thought it'd be fun to have you guys come along. But the main reason why I jump around isn't because I get bored. It isn't because I don't have things to do. 90% of the time is because I run out of parts. Have difficulty finding what I want. Now, I try to plan ahead. I order parts ahead of time. Right now, I'm missing a part that I bought 2 years ago because I don't know where to put it. Anyhow, let's kind of get into what I'm doing right now. This back on the 68 in bright white. I've got plugs for this because they didn't come with plugs, and I don't think that's the right plug because long story short, I don't think it's the right plug. So rather than take them back and keep trying new plugs, I'm going to take the whole thing off, go back to the parts store with it in hand, and then I can have that guy behind the counter, the guy that sold me all the wrong parts before. I'm not going to mention his name because Ryan would be mad. He had a bad week, or maybe month. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Parts are getting more difficult to come by. They're getting more difficult to order. Ryan's been around a lot. I pick on him, but he's gotten me a lot of parts. He's done me well. He spent extra time helping me out. So I'm not being mean. The guy's a good dude. I'm sure he doesn't watch this channel. I don't think. Ryan, if you're watching, sorry, buddy. I don't know. Anyhow, back to this. Oh, I don't want to break that. Oh, that don't have to come off. Talking, not thinking. So I'm just gonna take this with me. It's not that hard. It's 2 bolts. And I can walk in, set it right on the counter and say, look, I need 2 plugs for this. And then we can together. You can bring them out from the back room. Maybe I can go back there. We can test fit them, make sure I get one that fits right. Because there's only dozens of thread pitches and sizes these days for brakes. I don't know. European, Japan, China, all of them are different. But I'll just take that with me. Right there's my 2 plugs. That's not that hard to carry that. And then I know I got the right part. So I thought you guys would be interested to see that. All right, so that was the brake thing I have to work on. But this is the 4th of July weekend for me. Now I know you guys aren't watching this video until the end of July, but remember back on the 4th of July, Michigan, United States 250th year. Come on, that's something. I can't even remember. Obviously, I do actually remember the 200 year. That was a significant part in my life. I'm not going to talk about that right now. But what we are going to talk about is this power steering fittings. They've been sitting up there for, I don't know, better than a month. And I just need to do it. And I'm just being cheap. So I wanted to share that with you. This is just kind of a 4th of July relax, have a beer. You guys have had a beer on the 4th of July. Let me have one. Just sip on a beer and talk a little bit. Discuss some of these things that I don't normally show you because they're frustrating. But then I got to thinking they're probably frustrating for you too. So let's talk about it on the way out of this video this week. We got a few minutes. We'll work on a few things, discuss some headaches, and how you get around them. Just have one celebratory beer. And by the way, no drinking and driving. You already knew that. What was I thinking? Those. So in order to order the power steering conversion kit, it's just 2 fittings. And I think it is, by the looks of it, this would thread into an adapter that would thread into the power steering unit. But as you see, those are cut off. And although that's okay for the return line, that's fine. But the power line, that's a bad idea for the pressurized hose. you might get away with it, but I can't do that to Tom. That wouldn't be cool. So I'm gonna order that kit. And truthfully, you only need the one. So I probably won't even use the return line one because, well, I guess I would now that I think about it. Unless there's a fitting on it. I think there's a fitting on it. So you could just put a rubber hose. But they sell it as a kit because otherwise they could only sell it for, $7 to $12. Instead, they can sell it for 24 to 30. Why wouldn't they? So that issue I got to get. I just need to do it. It's one of those. And then my brackets for my air conditioning over here. We might as well go over there. So while we're just talking about things, sipping on our beer, leaning on a fender or tailgate, looking at what we got to do, thinking about, man, I hadn't even thought of that yet. What happens when that comes up? I thought I'd cover what's going on here. Thought I had everything, but I don't. I'm waiting on those brackets. They're going to come in 2 or 3 days. Let's not sweat it. And I wanted to put these lines together we had talked about. I'm basically there, but I don't want to break the seal on this drier filter because it'll start absorbing moisture. I want to have my pump in. I didn't think of that. See, keep talking and thinking. I want to have my A6 style pump in there so I can hook the lines right up. Well, I also have to pressure test and adjust the POA valve before I can put all the lines on. So there's something I could do in between videos, but I'm not gonna. I'll go ahead and wait till we do that video and I'll do the POA adjustment and then we'll continue on with the pump and we'll do that stuff. So that's my plan there. So we're kind of held up on the 1972 in Avalon Green. Nothing else really needs to be done. I do have a hose up here. You probably can't see it. It doesn't matter. The vacuum line that goes to the transmission. The rubber is like hard as nails. Got to be the original. And it's not. It's cracked and it's getting suctioned. It's not got a good seal. So I had to take a razor blade and cut that off. Go into the rubber hose drawer. Paw through there until I find one that fits. Cut it to the right length. Put it on there. Not exciting video. I mean, it's stuff I'm doing. I know there's about 20 of you that would watch me read a phone book. I think one of you guys said that's a little bit extreme, but I get your point. But I try to keep my videos interesting for everybody. Trying to keep it where people aren't just bored to death. But that's it for this truck right now. I'm very happy with how things are going together, but we're at a small standstill on this right now. But that's not a problem. We can, we can talk about Spanish Gold too. That's pretty much done. But Spanish Gold truck, I brought it back in and needed a couple little things. I'm still adjusting on the steering, trying to get that wheel where it just drives nice. And then I got to thinking, because, well, Jeff mentioned it. How many of you guys have these trucks that's a very common problem that needs adjusted every 100,000 miles or so? And I don't cover a lot of that because I don't know my viewers that well. Now, don't get me wrong. There's only so much I can learn from comments and people talking, but there's 10 or 15, 20 of you that actually own these trucks and work on them. Some of you use them for daily drivers. There's a vast, vast amount of people that have different interests in what I'm doing. So I'm trying to hit all those different key points so I can keep everybody interested, everybody engaged, everybody enjoying the show. I mean, I only got 700 and some viewers. I'm going to try and keep all 700 of them happy if I can. And if I had 7,000, I'd keep doing the same thing. So that's why I bounce around a lot. And there's 2 reasons right off the top. The third one is sometimes I get frustrated with something and I haven't figured out how to do it. So I need a break. So there's 3 good reasons right off the top of my head. So that's what we're working on right now. Let's look at the Spanish Gold truck real quick. Over here by the gold truck, Spanish Gold. Everything is really, really, really good shape. Everything's tightened up nicely. But I want to talk about clamps. Now, some of you are like, clamps? I want to talk about stinking clamps? Well, there's those springy. I should have one. I don't have a lot. I'm going to buy a kit of those. The round ones that have they're kind of twisted on the end, the ones that make you swear when it pinches your finger and they fly off. Those are actually one of the best clamps you can buy. Not the single ring ones, but the double ring, if the one goes between them, to me, that is the ultimate clamp. Yeah, they ultimately suck to put on and off, but they're a constant pressure. So as the hoses get hot and cold and everything moves, they always have pressure on the hose, keeping it clamped and not leaking. How often do you really take a hose clamp off? Shouldn't be that often. And if you get the right tool, they're not that bad. Yes, they still suck, but they're one of the best clamps you can possibly buy. You can take them on and off. They're reusable. You don't twist the threads all up on them. They don't kink on you. You don't strip out the worm gear. They virtually last forever, and they clamp the best. And nobody likes them. I get that. These, I don't know, Jeff. You don't have to zoom in, but these were the. I think I got one in the drawer. It doesn't even matter. They're shrink tubes, basically what they are. Fancy, thick, heavy shrink tube. I think only one company makes them. You can go find them. But if you measure them and get the right size, you put them on there, you just heat them with a heat gun and they clamp on fantastic. I've drove this truck 1,200 miles so far. Not a drop of antifreeze has come out of these. Love it. Super clean look. They clamp good, but you can't reuse them. Welcome back to Darren 67 to 72. I'm Darren. This is a 72 C20 and Avalon Green. Today we're going to get back at working on this air conditioning. It's fitting because it's 94 today. I've had to do a few air conditioning jobs and seems like everything's working fine until it gets really hot. Then you notice the insufficiencies. That's right. But where we're at today on this is I want to put the front grill in, radiator, because I always forget which one's which. I think it's a condenser, but anyway, we're going to put the condenser in. Now, when they originally did this, they had clips behind the core support, but with the radiator in there, it makes it very difficult to do, especially on the bottom. A better way to do this for people like us might have to come apart someday, you never know, is to take those holes that had them goofy clips behind them that are broke because they're old and they got rusty and they weren't really designed to be removed ever. It was a GM assembly kind of thing. So we're going to put Rivnuts in those four holes and get that mounted. Now, I do want to mention there's only two screws here to take out this support for your grill. It's not worth trying to tuck it in there. I don't think it'd fit, but I mean, if you cram it through there, it would, but you'll bend fins up. It's just two bolts. So take it out. It'll make your job clean, easy. You don't have to worry about hurting your condenser, evaporator. There I go again. So we're going to do this now. I say trust yourself a lot in my videos. When you're doing something and you're like, I don't know, and you keep second guessing yourself. If you know what you're doing, just trust yourself. You'll be all right. In this particular instance, don't trust yourself. What I mean is, when you drill these holes, the radiators behind these holes, don't trust you can stop your drill in time. It's not worth the chance. Just get you a scrap piece of wood and put it behind those holes between your radiator there so we don't drill through and hit your radiator. I'll get you in closer and we'll get this going. So I'm just going to drill these holes out. The holes are already there. Just making them quite a bit bigger actually, but the metal's thin and it just grabbed and bumped my board. So it's a good thing I had the board in there, right? Okay, let's do this other side while I'm on my knee. It's sheet metal. It's pretty thin, and more importantly, you're only going, I said quite a bit bigger, just a little bigger. Let's try to be more careful in this. Ooh, scary. The top's quite a bit farther away. I'm not too worried about the top. Plus, I can kind of hold my hip there, make sure it don't shoot through. So I say. Whew, grabbed a little, scared me. We're in good shape there. Now I'll grab my Zertnut and put them in there. It's one of these tools that if you don't own one, you think, I don't really need it. Once you get one, you're like, they're handy. Use them more than you think. Well, I do anyway. I try to crush them. You hear my elbow pop? I try to crush them in there pretty good, these bigger ones, just because I don't ever want them to spin on you. That would just be terrible. I guess you could just cut the nut off and keep going, but it wouldn't be ideal, would it? I did check clearances for depth just to make sure nothing hits. Not even close. There we go. Nope, that's pretty tight. Should have went click like everybody else does. Handy little machine. Not terribly expensive either. Of course, I say that in today's time, what isn't expensive? But I mean, it's reasonable. It's not a shocker tool like some of them I've looked at. One more and we can get that thing put in here. Kind of excited about getting this one done. Yeah, the Spanish Gold truck is fun to drive and it's cool and all, but there's just something about the old girl that I like so much better. And I'm definitely a fan of the 71 and 72s. They just make the rebuild process so much better. It's not the end of the world, but power steering, power brakes, just front brakes, all that. Well, there we go. Let me grab that core and a couple of new bolts and we'll get this together. All right. There she is, all pretty and painted. I usually do the top ones just so it hangs. Careful. I just touched it. It didn't hurt it. Use your knee support. I'm kind of making this look easy. It's going easy for me today. Fancy. Looks so nice till it gets full of bugs. Only take about a week. That's okay. I do want to warn you though, power washing these, it's not a terrible thing to worry about. Oh, what do we got here? Not lined up? Uh-oh. Might have to take this back apart and drill out the opening holes. They're just a little bit off. Darn it. And also pay attention to these tubes. You don't want them rubbing against the core support. You might have to just tweak them out a little bit. Now, it's copper. I believe it's copper. What do I know? But they're soft metal, so you can grab a hold of them and just give them a slight bend. You're not going to break anything. That one seems tight too. I might give it just a little cock out. And when you get the lines going, you'll see there's a little bit of finagling needs to be done. Just be gentle with them and you'll be all right. Well, I didn't foresee this happening. So here we are to making adjustments, making it fit. It's an aftermarket part. I get it. It isn't perfect. But how you're going to drill it and make it fit is a question. So do I just drill the bottom ones that were slightly off? Easy. Or do I drill all four of them out a little bigger? I don't know. I'm going to take it over to the bench and drill it out, and I'll be back in a second. Okay, folks. I drilled out all four of them just a little bigger. And then I put my screws down. It'll be all right. I thought that would give me just a little more leeway to wiggle it around. So that was my planning in doing that. Again, remember, just gentle, easy. I think we got her. Come on, sit right there for me just a sec. I gotta grab my 3 screws. They're laying right here. Bolts, whatever you want to call them. No, I didn't fit this. Hopefully I made those big enough, or I'll be doing it again. Oh, come on. No way. Yeah, okay. Gonna be close. I think we can pull up. Yeah, there's enough slack in it. Piece of cake. I think that bottom one's still gonna hit. I do not like that. We'll give her a little more. I hate to keep bending on something, but I don't want it rubbing on that metal for the next 20 years. Oh, a little more. Being shy don't hurt nothing. Yeah, I'm scared. Come on. Still pretty close. I'm just going a tiniest little bit. So, what do we want? I guess it's straight, it's level. I feel like I should just push it up. No reason, just feel like it. Just like that. We might as well put our support back in. Whatever we can do to protect this while I'm working on it. It's a good idea. Got to go back in anyway, right? I try to put my screws back in stuff. I know I baggy them, but why wouldn't we use 2 different sizes? We should have remembered that. I think 7/16, I think, on the top and half on the bottom. And then this is one of the few points in these trucks that confuses me. I don't think this is that critical of an area, but GM in its wisdom, infinite wisdom at that, use 12-point head bolts. Not on the bottom, that's a 6. But generally 12-point heads are stronger. I think they're hardened. But I don't, they sometimes do it to limit you so you won't mess with something. You have to get special wrenches or sockets, but in this case, I don't know why they would do that. Anyway, these 3 up here originally were, that looks like a 6-point. Over 12-point heads. So keep that in mind. You don't have to put that back, but if you're trying to keep it, 90% or 90+% original, like I'm trying to do here, that's something somebody might catch. It's in an obvious, conspicuous spot. All right, back together. Shouldn't have tightened one. Didn't get my hole lined up perfect. Just bear with me. There we go. The next thing I wanted to cover is we're going to start getting these lines hooked up, but I wanted to get that butyl I bought put on there. So let me move you. So the butyl comes in rolls like this. You can buy different thicknesses and different widths and all that. I just got a generic size. What I mean by that is, inch wide or so. It works for what I do. And it's not matter how much you pull off. Just, you can always splice it. This stuff stays gooey, sticky for decades. It cuts pretty quick if you're quick about it, but your scissors will get gummed up from it. So be aware of that. So we're going to replace the butyl that was on here from the factory, give it kind of that factory look. There's not really anything better to put on there anyway, so we might as well kind of go with the factory look. Now, it won't look right until you get it dirty. But as sticky as this stuff is, it ain't going to take long to get it dirty. And then I probably should have got around in front. And if this stuff touches itself, whew, she sticks. So just kind of feed it around and try not to touch it on itself. It'll stick to other stuff too. But, and you don't have to pull very hard. You'll this 1 inch wide. If you pull hard on it, it'll become a 1/16 of an inch wide really quick. Let me go one more round and I'll move out of your way a little bit. And not worried about how it's sticking. I just touched it. See? Right there. It touched a little bit and it does not want to let go. I got away with it, but if you do it, I guess just peel it off and get another piece. But again, like I said, I'll show you. Dang it, did it again. All right, I'm going to move. Don't worry about getting it tight. Excuse me. Or pulling it. Don't, because it'll stretch really easy. You just want to put it around loosely. And when we get done, we'll take our hand and make it stick really good. There we go. Just want good contact all the way around. It don't have to be pretty because when we stretch it, all these lines and everything pretty much disappear. It becomes one big, I don't know, gelatinous mess. I will tuck some of them wrinkles in a little bit and just keep right on going. I'm threading it through like a needle. You tend not to stick as bad when you do that. Or get a super long piece. That'll get you too. I might have should have went farther, but I don't remember how far it was. About this far. I can go back and look at videos, but I don't think it's specifically a distance that you got to worry about. All right, we got her around good enough. I ended on the bottom, which is ideal. And then all you want to do is just take your hand and smash her down. Get her on there tight. You hear it sticking to my glove. Just keep mashing it in. It'll shrink in there and bite on us. There's no way it's coming apart now. If you screw it up, just cut it all back off and throw it away. There's no unwrapping this stuff. Just kind of going for an even looking. That's pretty decent. We could do another round, but I don't know. I think that looks pretty good. We're gonna call it good there. Move on to our next part. Moving right along. I got out my LMC book. We'll discuss that in a minute. I'm an LMC fan. I do like their books. I like the people. I like their products, but nobody's perfect. We'll talk about that in a minute. So off camera, I was just kind of fiddling with these ends that I think got bent in shipping. Doesn't matter. There's a lot of little finessing has to be done. I've got the drier evaporator. No. Anyway, the dryer in here. And it's important which direction this goes. So we can talk about that, but I'll talk about how it doesn't fit too. Anyhow, I hooked up just this line here, goes inside to the compressor. That's just something simple. I only did it because this next hose has to finagle its way around up here. And the flow is in this direction. So the word in is on this side. This would be out. I think my last one said out on that side. This one says in on this side, whatever. But we'll double check this when we get all done just to make sure. But the direction of flow, whether you're redoing one of these or not, in any air conditioning system, it's the same basic premise. It goes from the compressor out to the condenser in this large line, goes through the condenser. I say large. It's large here. They're the same on the condenser and they're the same in and out on the dryer. But it is a large line going to the condenser. On the way out, it comes on a smaller line and has to be finagled in here so it can go through the dryer and out to your expansion valve up there, through the air conditioning unit in the truck, back out and around to the compressor where it's sucked in, if you will. or the pressure from the pressure side creates the loop, however you want to look at that. So that's the flow direction we're looking at, and we'll double check before we're done. But that's what I believe, and I'm pretty sure of. The next line going in, now I haven't lubed any of these. It's not a final fit. Just trying to figure out how this goes because everything doesn't fit the same, obviously. I loosened my condenser just to give me a little so I could spin these on by hand. You don't want to crank on them and cross thread them. Just kind of want to put them on by hand. They should go on easy. Don't force them. Not in this case. But again, we're just test fitting. So let's get this one on. It tucks in behind this. We'll make sure they don't rub before we're finished. But you can already see where I'm at up here. I'm too low and the angle's wrong. Now I could spin that, don't get me wrong, and get closer. Just bend this out a little more at the bottom. But you see how low I am? I don't want to keep bending on that thing, so maybe this dryer needs to go down a little bit. But before we do that, let's see if the next line is low as well. If the next line lines up perfectly, then we have to work on this somehow. But it looks like the dryer's too high. So let me grab that next line. It's sitting right here. And we're gonna, this one kind of fits through this hole down here. Goes under the battery tray. And it comes up around to this side. And as we see, we're not terribly low, but if we put that in the where it clamps in, this can be manipulated a little, don't get me wrong. We're close, but we're still a little low. Now, this line might go behind that side of this line, which would drop us down even further. I think I tried that. I have memories of doing this once before. I don't know. Let's try it real quick. This is what this is about. Any air conditioner. The aftermarket air conditioners come with directions, so that will help. But you're still going to have to figure out which side which goes on. Now, see, that took us even lower, but we're more in line with this one. So any way we do this, regardless of how what the final routing is, we definitely got to lower this dryer, which, you know, I'm Mr. Try to keep it original, but again, we're only shooting for, what I say, 90% or something. Not a big deal. We'll end up with an extra hole in our firewall, which I don't like, but we have to lower this bracket. Then we have room to lower the entire dryer. So let's do that real quick. I don't drop everything. We're going to do it in line. I could have tightened that bottom one. Would have made my job easier, wouldn't it? We're going to go down about an inch with it because it can always slide back up. I just want to make sure we're low enough. Let's put it back in. All right, hang on. Here we go. Don't need to tighten it. Just get it in there. Now we can finagle this up and down where we need. And it looks like we're going to be in line with that one. Now it's sticking out this way. I don't like. And if we twist it, we're going to be too far in. So this bottom part probably needs to be bent that way, which I don't like kinking lines tighter. I'd rather open them if anything. But I don't think we have much choice. I could remove both brackets and move them both that way, but I'm definitely not going to be where I belong. So we'll probably bend that one over a little farther. Let's check the fitment on that other line. See what we end up with that. Above or below? I'm going to say I still think above. It's just my thoughts. Do I remember from tearing it apart? Well, the lines were cut off and everything else. Who knows? I think above is going to be too much. Yep, 50-50, 90. If it's a 50-50, I'll get it wrong 90% of the time. I've even tried switching up my thoughts to go the opposite way. That's still wrong. All right, here we go. That I'm liking that better. By the time we put that inside of there, I guess I don't need that cap anymore. We're going to be finishing this up in the next video or so. Ooh, pull that And kind of nice they already came with the O-rings on them. That's handy. That is going to go right. I don't want to open this dryer up until I hook things up, just because it'll start absorbing moisture from the air. That looks awful close. Might could go down a touch more, or no, it can't. My line could be bent up a touch on this one. We have plenty of room behind the grill, so that's going to be what I'll manipulate. You can see what I'm after. Pull this up a touch, get that one straightened around. That's going to take some time. I'll manipulate that. The other issue I'm having, let me move you around and show you. The other issue I'm having is I didn't take this all off of the truck. When I bought the truck, the lines were all cut off and things had been removed. This bracket on top of the intake was still on the motor. It looks awful far forward, but I'm not going to second guess anything until I get the compressor in here. But I got this bracket, which lines up between the manifold bolts, excuse me, just fine. But I mean, it's crooked, so I have to put a spacer in there. And I got to looking around, and I don't think this is for this year, but it is for GM AC. I don't know where these parts came from or how somebody had extra parts from a different car and thought they belonged to this. But I've got a series of brackets that are GM air conditioning brackets. They just don't fit this truck. So I did order some more bracketry. It's not cheap, so I try not to order the wrong stuff, and I'll have leftover extra stuff for somebody else's vehicle because I'll likely never do another factory year again. It's going to be neat. I really like it, but it is more work. These aftermarket companies have systems that are pretty simple. Other than their brackets are either ugly or you got to spend many, many, many hours getting that set up. But the rest of the systems are easy. So it's 6 to 1, half a dozen to the other. But I got brackets coming. That's going to hold us up a few days. And it's 4th of July weekend for me right now. So even a few more days than that. But there's what we're trying to get this compressor. And I'm sure these wires are going to have to come out and get our compressor mounted. It's a single belt unit. I have it over here on the counter and I'll show it to you. Some of the other brackets that I'm looking at, I'll give you a little shop tour. There's all my AC parts. But over here is the compressor. And I've got the brackets on here these are the ones I've had since I bought the truck. And I've got them to where I think this is for a driver's side AC unit rather than a passenger side. But this is the new compressor. And as you see, the bracket is appropriate. All the bolts line up. It will work with this compressor, but I think it's for a different vehicle, is all I'm getting at. So when I get the new brackets, we'll come back and visit this again. Either way it goes, I'll end up getting the right brackets before I'm finished. But it appears that GM has made a lot of different changes. And I think what's happened is GM's made so many different brackets to make this old A6 style compressor fit on all their models, from Camaros to who knows, maybe the Buicks even used them, but all the Chevy line and the trucks and everything else. So there's different brackets depending on which side it's on, and they will fit on, but it doesn't mean they're the right ones for the application. Just because they came with the truck, yeah, I don't know why they were with the truck. I just assume they belong to it, but somebody else has had their hands in there. That's pretty common. So we'll just work our way through it. We have the right compressor, we have the right system, just a couple parts we got to fill in the middle. So I'm gonna rest up for the day. Call it the end. It's what time is it? Oh, it's 6:30. I'm gonna wrap things up, and I'll get back at this tomorrow. We'll do some more lines. We'll try and I don't know if we're gonna put this in, but I'll be working every day, and I'll see you guys again tomorrow. It'll be like 2 seconds for you. Well, folks, wrapping things up this week, I want to share one last thing with you. All done with the 1971 C10 in Spanish gold. But because you made it to the end, I want to reward you with a little something extra. The new truck, the new 72 in Serpentine Green. So now you know the name. I'm not telling anybody else. That's what you get for staying at the end. And I'll explain why it has that name. Meanwhile, I got to go.